Hello there, YouTubers. So today's episode, I'm actually going to be answering one of our audience members had asked a question, and thank you very much for that. We're starting to get a lot more questions in on our feed, and we truly do appreciate it as it helps us build content that's relative to what it is you would like us to speak about in regards to retirement planning in Canada. My name is Regan Schiller, and I'm the host of Your Canadian Retirement Specialist. If you like this content, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And as well, if there's subjects that you'd like us to talk about when it comes to retirement planning in Canada, please, by all means, put those in the comment section below, and we'll do our best to make a video just like this one around that question. With that being said, the question today, I'm going to read it from a different screen here, and I'm actually going to share my screen in a bit, and I'm going to go through actually a somewhat of a fake file that I made to help answer the question. So this individual says, I would love to see you do a video on the best way one can retire at age 60. Would it be best to start CPP early? Should I convert my RRSP to a RRIF at age 60 and start CPP at age 65 or even age 70? What scenario gives me the biggest or the best bang for my buck? So that is a very common question. And to truly answer that question, there's other aspects of her or this individual's situation that I'd have to know before I could answer. And that's what the video I'm going to go through today is. I kind of just filled in some of the stuff that I would need to know with just random numbers for the most part. And we're going to work through it. So with all that being said, let's get to it. We'll give this picture a little bit more color. So obviously this is a fake file, Jane and John Doe. First things we would do is get some more data in them. So I made some safe assumptions, or some assumptions, if you will, of to fill in the blank to help answer this individual's question. So I'm assuming that Jane and John are 53 and 54 respectively. They both earn a salary of roughly $80,000 per year. Jane does have a defined benefit pension plan, which it's estimated to be about $2,500 a month when she starts her retirement. We did the estimates on the CPP. I can just click on this. I'm just assuming that both of them would only qualify for 85% of the full amount of CPP, and that they'll start that at retirement, which their retirement date is age 60. Then we looked at, they'd both receive 100% of their OAS amounts. We put into the plan some of the assumptions. Also was they have no liabilities. Their all-in cost of living is roughly $5,000 a month. Typically, in this particular case, I would suggest that you'd do a good breakdown on how much your cost of living is, and try not to lump it into just one number. Maybe look at holidays, gifts for kids, if that's the case. Utilities, food, groceries, eating out, entertainment, clothing, like all the different potential ways that you could spend money. And usually, I would want to have those broken out. But again, for today's purpose, we're assuming $5,000 as a all-in cost of living, and that expense is going to run till the last spouse to die. And as well, I have this expense going up with inflation of roughly 2.2% per year moving forward. So their current house, their primary residence, is roughly worth about $550,000. And then for this session here, these other tabs, I just had the retirement goal at age 60. They would like to keep about $40,000 of cash on hand. One thing I forgot to mention when I started the assumptions that we're using for this plan outside of the financial data, we're going to assume that I'm going to assume that they each lived to age 100, and then we have inflation rate at roughly 3%, which actually for their groceries and things like that, or their all-in cost of living, it would actually go up by 3%, not 2.2, as I mentioned before. So we'd have those types of things, and also the type of investor they are. So one of the assumptions that we're using is that we did a questionnaire with them to see what kind of risk tolerance they could handle, and it came out to be that the questionnaire scored them as a moderate investor, but in reality, they were actually investing as a moderate conservative investor. So we would assume on moderate conservative that they would get roughly a 4.42% return. And as well, we would put a standard deviation, which is a measurement of risk, or one of the measurements of risk, of 7.51%. So basically the variance that they could expect in their portfolio. And when it comes to their accounts, they have They both have an RRSP and a tax-free savings account. Jane has 150 in her RRSP. She has 65,000, or they both have 65,000 in their tax-free savings account. John has about 200,000 in his RRSP, and as well, they have a joint non-registered account, and that's valued roughly at about 200,000. They keep about 40,000 of cash on hand for basically emergency purposes. Okay, so now that we put some framework around financial plan, let's check out what the results look like for the Jane and Joe's retirement plan. So flip over to the planning here. We got this set on retirement. So basically what you're looking at here is basically some key performance indicators. So before, when we captured the data, the goal was to retire at age 60 with maintaining their lifestyle of roughly 60,000 a year of a cost of living. And it appears that they are about 98% successful on that, on their retirement goals. This is, I call the retirement odometer. So it tops out essentially at about 150%. Obviously, if you're getting close to 100%, you're most likely on the good path for a successful retirement. But typically, I would like to see that number above 100% just to give some cushion to a retirement plan, to avoid any surprises that you may not want in the future. I hope you're enjoying the video thus far. And remember, if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe, please go ahead and do so. Any support is much appreciated. And go ahead and put your comments or questions in the comment section below, as we do enjoy getting feedback from our listeners. So again, we're trying to answer the question on what's the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to CPP. Well, there's many other factors to take into consideration before making that decision. And one would be they scored moderate. So they have a sleep at night factor of a moderate risk portfolio, which typically would look something like 60% in equity, 40% in fixed income. So if that is their sleep at night factor, we could recommend that they implement a moderate portfolio versus a moderate conservative, which gives them a bump up of 3.7%. So what we can see now is that increased this here retirement goal to 102%. So obviously that's good. So as you go down, the other thing that we'd want to look at is, where is their money going to come from in retirement? So what's the best way for them to do the sequence of withdrawals from their investment portfolios or sources of income? For this case here, I would look at withdrawing proportionally while preserving the tax-free savings account. And I'm going to be circling back to that original question, but I'm just showing you that there's other things to consider before making the decision around CPP. So in this particular case, we would say that we take money from other sources and we preserve their tax-free savings account, and that has a 1.4% increase to their retirement plan. So if you look here, we could see in their first year of retirement, they would have some pension income of roughly $28,000. They are already planning on taking CPP at age 60. That's the first scenario. That would be equivalent to $23,000 between the two of them. They would take about $14,900 from their registered accounts, and then a small amount from their non-reg. And you can kind of see as you move forward, this would be their pension income, highlighted in the blue, CPP income, OES kicking in at age 65, and then the minimums, the amount that they have to take out of their RRSPs. And then this would be the additional amount they would withdraw from their RRSPs. And then you can see here, this is some tax-free savings account money at the end of nearing age 97. So that being said, these are basically some other suggestions that we would look at. But first thing I would look at is the investment portfolio suitable for your risk tolerance? And also then when we go to take money out from retirement, what's the sequence of withdrawals? Okay. So as we go down the line here, you can see there's many other scenarios or things that we could run to see how it's affected. Just CPP start date. So in this particular case, if I put this over here, so now we're saying delay till age 70. So that was part of the question. If I take it at 65, and if we change this, they both take it at age, respectively, at age 65. Now these numbers are going to change. So it went from a 3.8% increase down to a 3.6%. So if we bump that back up to age 70, we can see that, well, that actually is lowering it. So it looks like, let's try 63. 63. Okay, so we can see here in this particular case, 64. Looks like 65 in these factors. See if that changes it. If I change that to 65. Now it's, 3 points. Did that change? Slightly, I believe. 0.4. Yeah, so this looks to be in and around the sweet spot for the two of them. So Jane at 64 and John at 65. And as well, there would also be things, OAS. Yeah, if you have the choice to delay OAS, if we look at that, if they delayed that to age 70, we can see that that's a small uptick. This one, I would say 0.3, it is better if they wait, but if they wanted to take it earlier, I wouldn't disagree with them, because it's a small amount that it would increase their plan. But as we can see, we now have them over 100% at 107%. So depending on your situation and the things that you'd factor in, we can see that in this case, the way we have a few of these scenarios right here is that, yes, delaying it to age 64 and 65 respectively would be in their best interest. The other thing I would look at is, how does that affect their net worth? We know it has an impact on their retirement plan, but how does that affect their overall net worth? So what I look at here is, we can see now with those, we're looking at a net worth graph. This is just basically showing you how, they have a current net worth of 1.28 million. It gives us their current situation. So basically leave everything as is, and also a recommendation with these 3 recommendations into the plan. So we can see, obviously, there's a significant impact with those 3 recommendations combined. Significant, actually, 1.4 million to roughly 2.32. It's a fairly large impact. And we can see here the portfolio recommendation, roughly about 111,000 of a benefit. Getting that sequence of withdrawals correct has a $386,000 impact to their long-term net worth. And delaying that CPP increases their net worth by $369,000. So a fairly significant impact on their overall plan. The other thing I would look at is the net estate to the children, if that was the case. We can see here that they would leave roughly a net estate of 2.281 million, which is fairly respectable in nature. So I hope that answers the question. As you can see, there's a lot of factors to take into consideration when making these types of decisions. It is hard to isolate in a vacuum. And there is other things I would look at as well. Are you planning on working part-time in retirement? Will you downsize your house and move somewhere else, or move into a rental property? Maybe saving a little bit more now if you had cash flow, which they do. They have a surplus of some money left over after taxes and expenses of roughly, I believe it was 51,000 a year. So what could you use that money? Like, how could we better enhance or bolster your retirement plan by using that to, top up your TFSA accounts on an annual basis and things of this nature? So many things to take into consideration when dealing with that question of what's the best time or best bang for my buck to take my CPP at. So again, I hope that answered your question. Well, that wraps up another episode. And once again, thank you for watching Your Canadian Retirement Specialist. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and fill in your comments or questions in the comment section below. As well, there is a link to our masterclass series to give you an even further in-depth look into our planning process and who we work well with and things of this nature. As well, there will be an opportunity for you to apply to become a client. Nonetheless, once again, thank you for watching Your Canadian Retirement Specialist.